We have what appears to be a lovely bookshelf, but on closer examination, there's a secret room. A safe place, away from thieves and robbers, where we can hide our valuable collection of sewing projects. How do we make such a thing? Let me show you. So this is our large walk-in closet with a large opening that we're going to be putting the rotating bookshelf into. We need a large opening because the bookshelf will rotate on the center and leaving a space on either side to squeeze by, and you don't want it to be too tight of a squeeze. In this case, this opening is 57.5 inches wide. Our bookshelf is going to be an inch narrower than that, 56.5, leaving half an inch on either side clearance so that it doesn't get caught up as it rotates around. Now this is a sheer wall, so it's thicker than normal, 7 inches from here to here. Our bookshelf is going to extend a little bit past that on either side, but a smaller wall, of course, you can certainly adjust as necessary. This is the bookshelf itself. It's basically, the main frame is 4x4s in a kind of an upside down T situation. So we've got one 4x4 here supplying support across the whole bottom of the bookshelf, and we've notched in a section here on the 4x4 to hold the upright 4x4 that extends all the way to the top of the bookshelf. I've also notched out 2 areas on either side for these rolling casters. These are actually not strictly necessary, but they do help supply a little extra support if the bookshelf rocks for one side or the other. So this is the part that really makes this thing work if you do it right. This is a floor flange or a pipe flange that I've put in. It's exactly halfway between the 2 ends of the opening. Screwed it into the wood. It's got a little pipe fitting here. This is a pipe fitting that has it's not doesn't go through all the way. It's got a cap on the end, and just screwed it in here. Our axle is going to go in here, and that'll seat nicely in there and rotate. Now the other side of the axle, of course, is going into the bookshelf itself, and that's going to be going into this hole, but I'm going to do the same thing, another floor flange. This is a 3/8 inch opening, by the way, and I've got a small pipe that fits in there. Now normally these pipes go in this side, and this opening is ever so slightly more wider than this opening. This isn't really made to go in from this side, but it will fit. You just may need to put it in a vise and get a good pair of pliers and really just tighten it as best you can. It will fit in there. It's not all the way in. It's as tight as I could kind of get it, but you can kind of see it could go in there tighter. And I actually do want this one to go in a little bit tighter, because this is how I'm going to make the height of this axle perfect, so that the bookshelf has just enough clearance to clear the floor and rotate freely, but not so much clearance that it's obvious what's going on. The other end of this little pipe has a cap on it. And again, that just keeps the axle in place. This axle is made from just a very large spike that I cut off. The pointy end I'm going to put down in the floor flange, and the other end is going to be going in here, where it sticks out just about that far, so that when it's all together, it'll rotate freely on that point. Now, I've cut this as close as I can to what I think is perfect. In this case, when I put everything together, it was just a little short, not much, but that's where this comes in. All I need to do is tighten the cap or tighten where the pipe goes into the flange. The tighter that goes, the closer this cap comes down, the more it pushes that axle spike out a little bit more and gives our bookshelf just a smidge more clearance to clear off the floor. So making the final adjustment on this, I've got the floor flange in the vise here and going to tighten everything up. The tighter I make this, the more the axle will stick out and the higher up the bookshelf will ride. That ought to do it. So now we're ready to install the upper flange to the under part of our bookshelf. Got the holes already drilled. This part fits right in there nicely. And these holes here are for screw holes that screw the bottom of the bottom of the T, or the upside down T, into the vertical piece, the vertical 4x4 that goes up the bookshelf to hold everything in place. So we're just going to line things up with the holes we'd made previously. And screw it into place. And that's it. We've got the upper flange tight in its spot underneath the bookshelf. So the way this is going to work, we're going to take our cut-off spike here. That'll go in there, and that should stick out just far enough so that when we raise the bookshelf up, this portion will go in there, and it'll rotate nicely on the tip. You could make this into more of a tip as well, just to have a little less friction, but it's certainly not necessary. These casters should extend just barely past the bottom of the bookshelf. There. Hold this sort of a flat edge there. You can see it's just this little portion is the only portion that extends beyond the edge, bottom edge of your bookshelf. So you want this to go in at just the right depth. Not too, if it's too far in, of course, the bookshelf just rides on the wood, and that's no good. And if it's too far out, there'll be too much clearance between the bookshelf, the bottom of the bookshelf, and the floor. So we want it, maybe a quarter or maybe an eighth of an inch past the bottom of your bookshelf. So now we're ready to put our bookshelf onto its axle here, for which two people are definitely helpful. So I'm using my lovely assistant here to show how this part goes. I'll be getting on the other side here on the bookshelf.
Wait, Yep.
Come out further?
No, I think you were just right.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time videoing and making sure it's in, but I think it's in. Yep.
So now the bookshelf is in place, but the top part is clearly unstable. So the next part is we're going to rotate the bookshelf around thusly so that we can get inside here and get up above into the attic where we'll put the other axle. Okay, we're coming up into the attic area where I have previously drilled a hole for this spike, which acts as the other end of the axle. It'll be going down into a hole previously drilled in the top of the bookshelf. Don't know that you can quite see it, but it's in there. So, as it happened, the exact center part, which of course this has to be in the exact center of the opening as well, there was a stud here that I had to remove, or part of it anyway. And of course, to keep the strength, I put in an additional one right here next to it. But that allowed me to get to this part here where I could put another one of these very large spikes through the hole. Now we'll just tap this down and make sure that it's lined up with the hole. Just about. A little more tapping. And there we go. It's lined up with the hole. We'll tap this in the rest of the way. And now we should have a nice axle in place to keep the top in place. And now that that's done, you see the bookshelf rotates quite nicely into its spot, and with just enough room here, so when it rotates out, it clears the edge. And same on this side. It's a little tighter on the right than it is on the left, but it is clear enough on both sides to work. Good enough. Now, as to the latch, what I've done is I've got two regular door plates here that I've put on the right side, and we've got the door mechanism here. Let's see if we can make this a little clearer. Just your typical door latch. So this will work from both sides. That's why I put in two. If this was to spin around the other way, it would come in and lock into place here, or spinning this way comes in and locks it into place on that side. Here's the other side of this latching mechanism. Just typical what you would use in any doorknob. This were just leftover used doorknobs or door latches. And put them one on either side. There's a square piece of metal that runs through here. Comes out this side and runs through the latching mechanism there. That was pushed out through, so you can see it a little bit better on this side now. That's the piece that goes through. There's also welded a T here so that when this is pulled, it turns the latching mechanism to pull in the stops on the door. See how that works. So here I've got just an eye screw and a small bungee cord. So it'll pull it back into place from the eye screw. The bungee goes through a expansion, or I can't remember what we call these things, toggle bolt, which then goes to a piece of wire, which goes to a pulley, runs through the pulley to this book that I have hollowed out. This is just the cover. It says Deceptions. And when you pull on this book, it pulls, open it up so you can see, the wire comes through here and attaches to an eye bolt here inside this piece of wood. So when you pull this out, it pulls on the wire, goes around the pulley. I just happen to have a double pulley here, but a single pulley is obviously all you really need. And then it pulls the wire, pulls on this, and when you release it, the bungee pulls it back into place. So that's how the door latches and unlatches. See how this works. We'll close the door, or close the bookshelf, and it latches into place here. This will of course be filled with books, or you could do a fake face or something to cover this. But right now, I'll leave it open so you can see how it works. You pull on the secret book, the door unlatches, and voila, access to the secret room. Now on the inside, we should also have a latch. And we do. It's one shelf up, and it's this book, fake book, marked The Seventh Secret. Again, just a book I found at Goodwill or someplace like that. Removed the inner part, created a wooden center for it, and the wood is attached. You can see a hinge at the front end, and at the back there's a wire that attaches to an eye bolt underneath the fake book. So when the book's in place, let's go around to the other side. The wire comes down here through this hole and also attaches to this bolt and the whole latching mechanism. So when the book is pulled forward, it pulls on this wire, and once again the door unlatches. So you can open the door or open the bookshelf from either the inside or the out. So here it is, all in place. By pulling the Deceptions book and a slight press on the bookshelf, it rotates quite freely, almost no friction at all. If I want, I can continue it on around and have an entirely different bookshelf on this side. Now the way I've designed this, we've got deeper shelves alternating with narrower shelves, which is of course the exact opposite on the other side. On the very bottom shelf down here, I have an extra deep shelf. And on this side, I've got no shelf whatsoever. But that's just the way I designed this particular bookshelf. the main concern here is the basic framework with this 4x4, vertical 4x4, the upside down T, with a 4x4 providing strength on the bottom and a basic spine up the center. Everything else is up to you, however you want to design your bookshelf around it that would fit your needs. So there it is. You can see it works quite well. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and good luck making your own secret room.